To order the meeting of the Green Bay Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission for Monday, January 20th, 2020. A roll call. We have everybody here except Bridget, who had to leave, so we're good to go there. So, move on to item B, approval of the agenda. I think we can probably keep everything in order. We've got you guys that are up right away, so we don't need to move anything around. So right here.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move approval of the proposed agenda and approval of the minutes, get my tongue working, in mass.
Okay, motion been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion been made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. D, regular business.
Kelvin's really keeping us busy. Jeez.
Initial request, consideration with possible action on the request from Alderman Galvin on behalf of Ace Champion to remove the no parking 15-minute loading zones at the intersection of Poor Lear Street and Jackson Street.
Thank you. Mr. Champion, I thought was going to come tonight with his wife. Apparently either he's tied up or wasn't able to make the meeting, whatever reason. He's buying the old, not by Bread Alone building at the corner of Poor Lear and Jackson Street. It's been empty for some time other than for rental. There's a rental unit on top, and he's going to be occupying that. He runs a cooking business in that he does catering to homes, so he'd have to do some preparation at his place, but he also is on Channel 26 with a cooking show, which he plans on broadcasting from the interior. So he doesn't, for his business, doesn't so much need the variance except for deliveries and things like that may go over 15 minutes, but his wife is also going to be operating a business out of that same building, and she is a massage therapist and a beautician. And so obviously when customers come in, they're going to need more than 15 minutes to get their work done. He wasn't sure what he really wanted there for a parking situation, but my opinion would be if it's just going to be from the driveway to the corner, I think we could do away with parking, period. Or customer only. I don't know if, what the wording on that would be, but I don't think it needs to be any more than just what lies alongside the property right there. That needs to be changed. The rest of the block should be able to remain the same.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just have one question. Do you know if he has all of his business permits to have the businesses there?
He already, he was just at council, and we approved his conditional use permit. So, as far as I know, any other permits he's still in the process of getting. I'm not sure exactly what he needs to operate there, because if his wife's
health permit or something.
right, and that would be through Brown County, I think.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be selling food per se out of there, like customers coming in and out like the other
Okay.
businesses before that. He would be preparing and then leaving with it to go
Okay.
to a site.
Thank you, Alderman.
So I'm not sure what kind of wording, you guys do this a lot more than I do, so.
Yeah, I had the opportunity as well to speak with Ace Champion. He had called me and we had a very nice discussion. So as the elder had stated, he is a chef and a TV personality, so it sounded like he's going to do some cooking there. He does some off-site kind of thing. And then, he did confirm as well about his wife being a massage therapist. So I can see where a no parking 15-minute loading would not really be conducive to the land use there that's proposed. One thing I wanted to bring up is I don't think this is as simple as just removing the zone, because if you do, we've got an overlapping no parking residential permit zone. I researched the regulations, and the regulations actually extended, for the most part, between Van Buren Street and Monroe, on the south side of the street. And that's what this sign here shows, which is actually in that block. So you see the 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily except by residential permit. So, at the time when I talked to him, I wasn't aware that extended through there. Where this 15-minute loading zone kind of trumps that in a way, because that was there. So if we remove it, this is kind of the default zone that would be in place. So I guess there's a couple things we can do. I mean, it's really open to it, however, I guess it works best. We could simply remove the no parking 15-minute loading and then leave the residential permit in front of the property. And that works as well for Jackson Street, because there is this same zone, I should probably show
Right.
you on here, that goes around the corner.
Right.
And it's over here as well.
Right, remember I tried to get that rescinded about a year or so ago, and that was
Right.
a hot mess, so.
Right. So, as you can see here, well, the sign's blurry, but in essence, from this post over to here, so 2 properties in, is also a no parking 15-minute loading. And if that goes away, then basically, you know, you'd have a residential permit zone. So
I
you
don't think
get-
he's looking for Jackson Street to be changed, unless he indicated that to you.
that was the impression I did
Oh,
get from
okay.
him, yeah.
All right.
That was the impression I got from him, was both corners.
All right,
Which actually kind of makes sense. I mean, you know, if it's not applicable to the property anymore, I should just get rid of it, because
Right.
it was really there for that bakery.
right.
So we could, A, remove it and have the residential permit back in place, or B, we can remove it and, in essence, kind of shorten up those residential permit zones, or make it unrestricted. My guess is that option B is probably gonna be more conducive if they're gonna have clients come into their business, and, you know, if they need a massage, they're gonna be there for an hour or whatever. That makes sense to not have the residential permit
Right.
zone there, because that's not obviously conducive to the business. That said, you could do that as well. So that's option 2, is restricting, or just removing that, peeling back that residential permit zone and making it unrestricted. Now, that could come with consequences, because if you're around a heavily restricted area, you do have the potential for other people to just park there, because it's free country, and if it's unrestricted, it's not really specific to that area. So it does run the risk of having other people park there that may not be associated with that business. That's just, I guess, a risk you can take. You know, it's hard to tell right now what will happen. It easily could, I guess I'm more or less leaning towards option 2, because I know it's gonna, you know, it's more conducive to the new land use. And if there are issues, let's say, in the future, we can always just come back with some other, like a, you know, 2-hour zone or something like that. Because there's other 2-hour zones in the area, we could just match those, if it becomes a problem. You could always start with it now, but I don't know if it's necessarily gonna be necessary, you know what I mean? If you just remove
Sure.
that, it may not, you know, it may not be an attractant to other people that want to use it.
My opinion would be everyone's pretty well stick trained that this is residential only. I think if those signs are removed, I don't think you're gonna have too many people going, oh, hey, I found this one little corner where there's no restrictions, so that's where I'm gonna start parking from now on. And if they did, obviously, I think then we would find out, and then we could change it to a 2-hour.
Correct. And the other thing to consider too is, if we're looking at both streets, which we are, is that you've got literally hundreds of feet of unrestricted parking. His wife, or his wife, can only probably have 1 client at a time, unless she's got other employees that'll be there, so I don't think that their parking demand on that area is gonna be all
Right.
that significant. And as long as they've got a few spots, it's probably gonna be enough for them.
That's what I'm thinking. One's being treated, one's maybe coming in to get ready, you know, 2, maybe 3 cars at the most.
Right.
Is there a parking lot there?
I was gonna-
There's an
Was there in
apron.
the back, was there parking in the back?
There's parking in the back, and I thought that's probably big enough for 2 cars.
Yeah, it was my impression that was just gonna be used kind of for them to park their own
Oh.
vehicles.
There's not much there.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah, I mean, it's really not much different than, I mean, you can tell it's a private, you know, single-family house at one time probably, and converted into that. I think that it was actually built in the late 1800s.
right,
It's
1890 something.
It's an older home, but good bones from what I understand.
When was it a bakery? I remember that.
Oh,
Not by Bread
this-
Alone?
Not by Bread Alone was many, many years ago,
Was it
and then it was a
before? I've been here
cupcake
20
In the
place.
years.
last 20 years, I mean,
20?
well,
I've been here 20 years this month in Green Bay.
okay, then
and I
within
don't
the last
remember it,
30 years.
but
I've been
Last
here 30
30,
years,
yeah.
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 Oh, so it's been a while.
Yeah,
Maybe it's been
they open up
But
way
they-
out.
they just
actual
moved.
hours.
I was just curious what they did then, but I don't know, like 30 years ago
It was
was
like
much to compare.
15
make
minutes.
that
I mean, you could only pull up there. I
Right.
think,
Yeah.
in-
But you probably weren't gonna be in there.
There was a
much
lot of
longer.
St.
Right.
Vincent's Hospital, Bellin Hospital staff walking in, so they just walked from
You
wherever
get
they
stuff
were.
and then
Okay.
leave.
Right.
To get their zoning permit for the business, would they need to have parking or not? I mean,
Well, those have
That's an
changed
interesting-
recently,
yeah.
as you may know, more on the lines of requiring less on-site parking for businesses. I'm presuming if it's going through this whole process, it's either A, gonna be compliant to the parking requirement, or B, they're getting a variance. They're going to the zoning board of appeals for that.
Okay.
So, to be quite honest, that's really not
Yeah, no,
our
Yeah.
interest at this point in
And
time.
he hasn't asked me for any help on that, so I don't think he's running into any roadblocks, or I think.
He didn't mention
will.
anything to me.
Right.
I just.
And I
say-
talked with Wendy Townsend on this, I think she was initial contact relative to this whole item, and she didn't mention anything either.
It's just such a tough parking area. You live in that area.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can say people don't know it, but somebody finds a little loophole before you know it, word of mouth spreads and,
Well, if you-
hey, I can't park outside my business because the
Right.
neighbors are parking there
And
now, so.
if that happens, I would say, bring it, and the elder can bring another request in
We
2
do a
hours,
2 hour,
7 to
yeah.
7, Monday through Friday or something.
Right.
All right. Do I hear a motion to
Option two.
option two?
Second?
Motion made, second option two. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 3, initial request, consideration with possible action on the request for Alderman Galvin to remove the 2-hour 7 AM to 7 PM Monday through Friday zone on the west side of Roosevelt Street from Grignon to Emily.
I was approached by a resident from 1124 South Roosevelt. And she has a signed petition from 13 residents requesting that the 2-hour restriction on one side of the block be removed completely. They don't want any restriction on that one side. The other side is no parking, and they're okay with that, but they want to be able to park on their own block in front of their homes as long as they can.
Okay.
Do you have a Y-way that was put in place, Dave?
That was part of the old hospital.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, if you actually look up until about 6 years ago, I think it was the block just south of there or north of there. We, let me see, entire stretch from Grinion to East Mason was posted 2 hour on the west side, no parking on the east side. That was up to 6 years ago, and then the one block between Emily and Eliza that was removed. So in essence, what we're doing, we're 1 block away, kind of really doing the same thing. That's really what the request is. Looking at it from an engineering perspective, we have a 30-foot roadway, and my recommendation would be to maintain the no parking zone that's currently there on the east side. We currently have 2 hours, so that means you can park, it's just restricted, so it's not like we've got any sort of width constraint issues that we'd have to deal with here, so I guess I have no issues or no reason to oppose the request based on, I think we've got a conducive situation.
Yeah, it's just a slow erosion of that old hospital restriction. I think people are finding that they don't necessarily need it the farther they live away from the hospital. I've got a couple more blocks where I told people they came in and I said, get me a petition, show me a majority of the people want it removed, and I'll bring it
That
forward.
was a question I was gonna ask you. Most of the names are the addresses are on this
Yep.
area in question? Okay, I trust your,
Okay.
I don't know, Dave, if you want that for
If you want it for the file, we can
the
put it in
file,
the file.
just so that
Make a motion.
people on that street are the ones that want it,
Yep.
so.
All right.
Motion to approve. Second?
Motion made in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Initial request, consideration with possible action on the request of Alderman Galvin to establish a temporary no parking zone on the west side of Adams Street from Cass Street to the Donald Tillman Bridge overpass during a temporary closure of the Fox River Trail.
So they tore down the old warehouse, and I know there's some land swapping going on. But the Fox River Trail, from what I've been told, will eventually be altered to take a hard turn towards the west and flow along the Fox River and underneath the bridge. But in the meantime, right now, the old trail is completely blocked. So we have many people who bike and walk to work or are out just for biking and walking purposes. They're being forced to either cross the street to the sidewalk on the other side of the street, or they're trying to get down Adams Street, and I'm getting complaints from people where they're having near misses. Motorists are not being responsible and paying attention, and so they're looking for some help to ease this situation so it's safe. They don't want to, nobody wants to get hit, and nobody wants to hit anybody, so. I thought maybe a temporary solution would be to restrict the parking until this thing gets squared away, and if need be, paint in a 1 block long bike lane or something to indicate to people that that's there for them to use, so they can get back on the Fox River Trail. I don't know how long this process is gonna be, but, you know, we have to have a solution for the people, especially come spring. That trail is gonna be booming more, and we plow it now, all the way down to the south, the pier line, so that people can still bike and walk and use it. So, you know, I think we need to have some kind of a temporary solution that's gonna make it safer for everybody.
How many houses are, how many houses are in that?
There actually are no houses.
No
That's
houses?
the water department on one side, and that warehouse is completely gone now on the west side of the street.
And there's nothing on, what's on the east side there?
That's the water department.
That's just the water, okay.
This is a water
Sure.
utility, and
They have
this
their
is
own
their
parking
yard.
there?
Well,
Isn't-
a lot of
isn't-
the employees park on the street. I'm not sure why,
That'd be a
but,
problem for them, or?
well, I would think they'd have to provide parking for their employees like all the other.
Lots available, why don't use that?
I don't know. Maybe it's easier, or I'm not sure.
Is this the area that's proposed for a large apartment building? or
Exactly.
condos?
Yep.
Okay, is the building of that development going to interfere with the permanent placement of the East River Trail along the waterfront?
No.
No, that's already been worked out with the developers.
Oh,
That
okay.
the trail will simply be moved. I don't know if it's a land swap or something, but the trail, it's already been agreed to move the trail alongside the river.
Good.
Yeah, I've been, you know, part of the tech review committee, and this is one of the developments that we had the opportunity to review and provide commentary, and that was certainly one of the things that was brought up was relocation of the trail. And as you can tell from this diagram here, or this mapping, it almost looks like a sidewalk, but actually this is the trail. It's not actually even on street right away, but it's, you know, this was all park property or something, or it was there on an easement, but it comes up underneath the bridge and then connects back down this way to go right along the Fox River's east bank. So what they're going to do is, this is all gonna be developed, I mean, I believe they're like brownstone type of residential property, so, you know, very close setback. A new sidewalk will be constructed in this area within the right-of-way, but then the trail is actually going to be permanently detoured over to here, and then it's just gonna connect them. So, I mean, it really makes a lot of sense. Yeah, obviously Parks was involved and they agreed to all of this, so. But the Alder brings up a good point that, you know, we've got this current situation here now where this is closed. You know, we worked with them and they signed it and everything like that, and it looks good. And, you know, this kind of came up very late in the fall, so we kind of ran up on some bad weather, and there was time enough to get one curb ramp into here to allow some of this crossing, but this wasn't really done up this way. So there is a curb ramp here, but we don't have a receiving one over here. So we don't have a completely ADA compliant detour. So our thought was, as well as because we have a number of special events, there's a number of races and runs that actually use this segment of trail. And when we do those, our plan, I mean, we've already, you know, there's a special events committee, we work with the sponsors, and our plan right now for all of these, while this is closed, is actually putting the runners onto the street, into that parking lane. And that would be impossible to do if there are cars parked there. Another issue that we actually uncovered when we were looking at investigating into this is that there's driveways here under to a parking lot that is owned by the city and leased to Bellin. And there's people that are parking and blocking the view, and I actually have some photos of what that is.
It's a gorgeous.
I gotta go do that tomorrow.
Adams Street. So if you're looking to come out of this parking lot, and you look to the south, that's the water utility building back here. This is where the closed trail is, right along this tree line here, right behind it. You're lucky to see if there's any cars coming northbound. It's very difficult, and we're not sure why we've been getting a lot of this spillover lately, not really sure. I don't know if Bellin just has more employees and they're just telling them to park on the street there or what, but I don't see it being a safe condition.
I thought those were water utility employees, but I could be wrong, it could be Bellin, it could be a combination, it doesn't matter.
To be quite honest, it really doesn't matter. I actually saw this and I said, this is not a good situation here, especially for how many vehicles are exiting at one time and things like that. And Adams Street can get pretty busy. It's a corridor from Riverside to Monroe to the downtown.
Right.
I mean, using the signal, it's highly traveled. This is looking to the north, and you can see even here, they're parked up. So our thought was not only to accommodate this temporary detour of the trail, to accommodate the special events and so forth, we're also solving a sight distance issue at this point as well. So it's actually staff's recommendation to look at restricting parking on South Adams Street between Washington and Cass Street. The entire side in between there. I think that'll clear up a lot of issues. And then it's also going to be conducive to this trail, temporary trail relocation.
But you'll keep it in place, or at least that's the suggestion, is to keep it in place even when the construction's completed.
When the construction is completed, and that's something that I think that needs to be discussed with the developer, on what, because these, from what I could see, the conceptual plans are that these are, like I said, brownstone style homes, which means they got, I believe they'll have access to the sidewalk, or it's gonna be very close setback. My thought is that there probably is gonna be demand for people to just wanna pull up and park there and go visit who's ever living there, or
Although the plan does show for them to have underground parking ramp
right.
underneath the facility,
So, yeah, the residents, yeah, you're right. My understanding that they'll have on-site parking. I'm looking at this probably from more of a visitor standpoint and potentially even still trail users.
Right.
And yes, so to answer your question, Brad, when this is all said and done and everything's open, our plan would be to, in essence, restore the on-street parking in that area, but then restrict it from the other photo that I had. So, we had a clear line, and we actually measured it out. It's like 80 feet, I think,
All right.
south of that
Sure.
that driveway, and then all the way back to Washington. That'll clear up the sight lines, and then we can have that as a permanent condition. And I think it'll overall make the situation much more safe. The other thing I want to mention too is another reason to temporarily restrict the parking on the west side is that there's going to be construction vehicles, dump trucks, whatever, that are gonna need to access that side anyway. So they're gonna be coming in for obstruction permits, and we're gonna be loading them up with temporary no parking signs that will probably never even get returned. So it's like, let's just do this permanently or semi-permanently, and then when this all shakes out and it's done, we can see what's gonna be the best parking
Sure.
restriction, if any, for this whole area.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move approval.
Just have one question. Do we need a date? Temporary means next year, 5 years from now? I mean,
Well, as the construction business goes, I wouldn't really place any bets on when this will be done. I know that they'll have target dates for occupancy and things like that, but you just never know when it comes to final landscaping and things like that. I would just leave it open, and as soon as this is done, this is something that we're gonna be aware of at staff level.
Okay.
When this is all done, we'll look at it, and then it'll probably be more of a, I'll call Bill and just say, hey, let's change this up, you good with this? And it'll either be a request directly from me or from the alder.
Second.
Motion been made, seconded, did I hear?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
we'll
carries.
probably have to send some letters to the Bellin staff and to the park water utility, let them know what's going on, and then obviously not heavy-handed enforcement at first until people can, get an idea of what's going on.
Right.
You gotta break that habit in practice.
Yeah, no, and parking utility they always get copies of all of our work orders, so they're aware of that. And then, of course, the 90-day trial is always something that is used as kind of that notification to, look, this is here, and, you know, if you don't like it, when the 30 day, or the 90 days are up, you can always come back when it comes for this body's approval again to move to council. If they have any words to say on it, they can.
Is there any way of marking that so that the trail users know that this is for the bicyclists and that they can use this instead of having to cross over through traffic and then try and cross back through traffic to get back on the trail?
I think you're gonna find that they're naturally just gonna do it.
Yeah, I know, but it's, you know.
And I'll tell you what, I think the contractor did a pretty good job of putting up some signage, and the signage does say to use the east side. That's more, to me, more of a pedestrian detour.
Right.
And I know that the trail is cleared and everything in the wintertime, but I think obviously the most activity takes place when it's warmer out. I think we just kind of wait and see how this all shakes out. If we do have problems with some of that signage, I can always contact the contractor. I've been working with Corey up in Parks with respect to that, and they've been really good to work with.
All right.
How many units are they putting in there? Don't know.
I couldn't give you an answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, 4, initial request, consideration. Yeah.
We had a first and a second, I don't know if you did a vote.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard
Never
you.
mind.
I heard you. I heard you.
Dan and I are having old person's meeting.
You got it right.
Hey, talk about
Hey,
yourself.
I'm with you, buddy.
Consideration of possible action request by the traffic engineer on behalf of Byron Construction to establish a no parking zone on both sides of Louis C. Street from Quincy Street to Van Buren Street.
Take care.
So this came in from, actually you'll see there's an email from Mr. Dan Reuter from Myron that came in on Friday. But I've been working with their team, I mean, the city staff has worked with the Myron Construction and any of the contractors and subcontractors relative to this development. This, as you know, has been a pretty big project. At a staff level, we're working quite a bit with respect to the oversized overweight permitting that's occurring for them, because they have a lot of equipment coming in and out, a lot of material coming in and out that is actually oversized. So we've been working very closely with the team on that, as well as the pedestrian safety for the workers. And what they've done is they've gotten agreements with some of the local businesses to lease spots in parking lots. So like that old Prangy's warehouse, I know that they're parking some employees there. They're parking them over, you know, Green Bay Packaging has that lot that you can actually, it's actually right next to, well, maybe not right next to this, but let me just put it on the map. Yeah, as you can see, here's some parking here. They've been parking in this lot and they've been parking in this lot. So they are providing buses for transportation for their employees from these lots. So these shuttle buses will come in, pick them up, bring them over into the Project Wolfpack job site where they're constructing. What's happening is that there's some employees that are insisting on parking on the street here, and it's actually interfering with not only the directives that they're giving these contractors and subcontractors, which they may or may not have complete control over work behavior, I guess you'd say. But it's also providing issues with Faro gas, and that's what the second email in the project packet was all about, was that the representative, Mr. Dave Peters from Faro Gas, had also commented that the drivers parking are providing issues with their driveway access and emergency egress gates, and that they're even having issues with some of them parking in their own parking lot. And that does become a private issue, but I think as soon as parking is restricted on here, and again, this is kind of like the last one, this is more of a temporary condition. Once Project Wolfpack is completed, which is not going to be probably for another couple of years, I believe 2021 is when they're scheduled for completion. It's probably when you'll see another request come through here for removal of that restriction. We'll probably just go back to normal. So this is really to accommodate that project, and it also helps out the other businesses along that area.
So you make that non-parking there, there's enough lots for people to park that are parking in the wrong spot now, then, is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I've gone through there. I've met with them during working hours just to kind of see the behavior. I mean, there's actually more pictures here. Here's another one, so you can see them all parking up and down, and, you know, the street's wide enough, that's not the issue, but as you can see, they're doing this, parking up some of the driveways, but also, because there's so many of them, it's actually kind of hindering our snow plow removal activities. You know, when we start going clearing streets, you know, they can't actually get into those areas because they're getting parked up every day.
Well, as long as there's someplace for them to park, that's.
Yeah, and if they're
we're gonna
parking
change-
off-site, we can go through there and clear that up real nice.
Well, But as long as they're providing parking, I mean, if you're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
make non-parking, you gotta have somewhere for them to go that's
They have plenty of
somewhat
capacity.
convenient and not 2 miles away.
Right, no, from what I could see, you know, and I went, you know, we looked at both of these areas,
Okay.
Dan and I, and there was plenty of parking spots in both of those lots, so I don't think they have a capacity issue at all.
Make a motion to approve no parking.
Motion been made, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Initial request, consideration of possible action of request from Alderman LaFay to remove the no parking zone on the north side of Eastman Avenue from Webster Avenue to Van Buren Street.
No pictures on this one, but I will show you the map. Actually, somewhat close to this last request. As you know, North Webster Avenue, University of Radisson was constructed in 2019, project is complete. One of the things that we don't always do this, I mean, over time, what ends up happening, if there's abuses to heavy trucks off of the truck routes, we'll end up putting up no truck signs off of corridors, and as part of our signing plan, we went a little bit minimalist, well, I won't say minimalistic, I mean realistic, where it's like, okay, people should, you know, these truck drivers should be used to this, so we didn't post no truck signs along this whole corridor, just hoping that people, you know, that they were so used to their traffic patterns anyway. Apparently, the owner on the northwest corner here at Eastman says otherwise, and there's been multiple trucks accessing Green Bay Packaging via Eastman this one way. This is actually a one-way pair. You get westbound north of the tracks, and you get eastbound south of the tracks, and so it's happening. I did actually order in some no truck signs in that area. They actually were there before construction, like I said. I don't have a problem putting them back, seeing how we still have the issue, but one of the other things that they were wondering was, you know, can we just have parking on street, which would probably deter some of that truck traffic anyway from turning. So if they were parked, say, next to their house on the north side, just west of Webster Avenue, that kind of makes it a little bit more of a difficult turning movement for those trucks anyway. So having a presence of on-street parking would be conducive to resolving this. So
What's the width of that road, Dave?
24 feet, but it is one way.
Right.
The other thing to consider too is that there is a rule, I believe it's a federal regulation that requires that there shouldn't be any parking activity within 25 foot of the nearest rail, which really means that the inside travel lane going westbound really should be a no parking zone. So one of my thoughts was, why don't we just flip it? Why don't we just take the no parking off of the north side and just move it to the inside? And that way it kind of reinforces that federal regulation of not parking within 25 feet of a rail. Granted, you're parallel to it, but people really shouldn't be parking there anyway. So if you had parked cars on the north side, a one-way street, you certainly have enough width to do so with the no parking restriction on the south side. So that would be my recommendation, is actually to remove it, remove the parking from that south side and move it to, or I should say the north side, move it to the rail side on both of the pairs actually. So we're also talking over here. And then establish those parking zones that way. I would probably extend it all the way down to, I believe this is Jackson Street. Yeah, North Jackson. I would probably keep it no parking here for the simple fact of, again, we've got a parking lot. What happens if people just wanted to park on the street, you know, for whatever purposes over here? You got this spur line that's over here. Sometimes when you have people parking too close to railroad crossings, it's really not a good situation. So my thought was actually just allowing the parking from Webster over in Jackson, just leave that restriction here. So, it's staff recommendation. On the
Okay.
mandated trial, of course.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve Dave's suggestion.
Motion made,
Second.
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Oh, let's start with determinations, Dave, I'll let you, want to group them together how you want it, looks like some of them go together, so.
Sure, yeah, we do have a lot of them. I'll just kind of go over them where I can see them paired together. So items 6 and 7 are connected. This is the one where we have that Starbucks that went in on the Main Street frontage road. And we removed the two-way yield condition that is and converted it to a two-way stop. It's working as designed now, so I'm recommending approval of 6 and 7.
Motion to approve 6 and 7.
You want to take them all together, or you want to approve them?
However you'd like to approve them is up to you.
Take them all.
Just take them all together.
Take them all in mass? Okay, I'll just describe them and then,
Okay,
so the next one, we got Van Buren Street, so that'd be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Those are all related to those parking changes that we made on Van Buren, basically between Walnut and Main Street. Again, no issues or questions on that, so I'd recommend those items as well be approved. And then we've got the 15-minute loading zone on South Broadway at Prospect, or near Prospect, 60 feet north of to 110 feet north of. That's on its own. I recommend approval of that. And of course, the last one, one-way yield condition Lafayette at Candle Way, that's the far west side location. That's where that new subdivision Pine Acres went in, and there was a new roadway basically connected through, and now there's more traffic on it. So establishing some sort of traffic control at the T intersection worked, and so that's how those are all grouped. So I would make a recommendation to take items 6 through 15 in mass for recommendation to approve all of those trials.
Okay.
Motion to approve 6 through 15.
motion made, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. E, informational, next meeting Monday, February 17th. Anybody know that they won't be at that meeting?
Yes.
Obligations, okay. No Ray, all right.
That's an obligation.
It's an obligation to be there. Okay. With that, nobody else, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.